There are moments when curiosity urges us to take a leap of faith, even when we have no idea what's waiting ahead. A bridge is the physical embodiment of our curiosity taking over, allowing for our passion for the unknown to drive us forward. A bridge is where we leave solid ground behind, and for a moment we're suspended between what we understand and what we don't. The transition between where we feel safe and where we lose control of our own destiny. Tonight, we're crossing that bridge together. Welcome to the other side of the bridge. We're not here to tell you what to believe. We're here to walk with you across the bridge and into the unknown. Hey, Inns guys. Welcome back to the Other Side of the Bridge podcast with Iron City Paranormal. Derek, we're going to pick up where we left off on the last episode tonight.
Yeah, I mean, jump right into it. I mean, we had a lot of good stuff last time with talking crystals and kind of crossing the line a little bit with talisman and what we do and what we don't do. So if anybody missed that, make sure you go and check that out.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, what are you doing? If you haven't watched episode 8,
Yeah,
come
right.
on. Let's
We're
just stop and go back to episode 8 first, and then you can catch up. Because it was a doozy, and I was not expecting it to be, right? I mean, we were expecting that to be a one and done kind of coverage on crystals.
Yeah, we just kept going. I mean, start of the show, I'm like, I just knew something was happening. I knew we were going to get into episode 2 with it. So, part 2. So, why not? I mean, crystal conversations, right?
Yeah, and something that we talked about on the last one that we're going to touch on even more on this episode is just the differing opinions between we as individuals within the team, but also other people that, are doing paranormal investigations, kind of like beliefs around crystals, beliefs around other objects. Maybe they're the same thing, right? I mean, it's all a really interesting concept once we get into the meat of the conversation, so to speak, or the crust, to use a rock term. Uh,
Boo.
you know, that's where this stuff becomes really fascinating because it's all about. Um, it's not so much about what the rock or the crystal itself does or the item itself does. If we're talking talisman and religious objects, maybe it's less about that and more about what we put into them, right? I mean, so there's a lot to this.
What it brings out of us, right? I mean, and so much of what we do is about intention, and
Mm-hmm.
crystals are like the perfect example of what you put in is what you get out. And for investigations and the paranormal side of things, that's exactly what we do on a case by case basis. So the
Mm-hmm.
crystal just amplifies that.
Yeah, exactly. And something that we're going to talk about specifically on this episode is what we each bring with us on an investigation. Where what makes us feel safe, right? And um, with a lot of questions, and like this is kind of off the cuff a little bit on this episode, right? It's less, not that we're ever scripted, but like we have a lot of just open-ended questions that we want to get into, and I hope that we can garner some more conversation. Now, Aaron's our crystal expert, right? Aaron's the one that really understands the rocks, the intent behind the types of rocks, um,
Really, the science behind it, pseudoscience behind it, whatever you want to
yeah,
call it.
I was dodging around the word science, right? Just because I don't know.
Yeah, but I think
Um,
in the paranormal community, we need to start putting science into more things, just
we
overall.
do,
So, start
we
there.
do. Shame on me. Shame on me. I'm embodying the things that I don't like. Whenever people get into, the troll conversations towards us and towards paranormal investigations. So yeah, no, shame on me. It's the science, right? For our intents and purposes, it's a science. So Chris, Erin's going to be joining us later on. She had some things that she had to take care of, so she'll be on partway through. But where I want to start is something that Erin brings to the table as far as a reminder for us all the time. she's our full moon person, right? Because there's a whole process behind cleansing and charging of crystals.
And that can go in pretty deep depending on your
Oh, so
personal
much.
beliefs and which way you want to take it. I mean, you even can even talk about pagan beliefs versus
Mhm.
the ancient even what the Egyptians did with the sand and the cleansings and what we do in modern times now. And
Mhm.
so it's kind of a pick and choose. What you believe in or what path you've taken to get there or why you use it, really, right?
Yeah. So when I say charging, um, that means so we get notified through text message from Air every time there's going to be a full moon.
Group message.
Group message just goes out to everybody, and she says, "Hey, it's a full moon tonight. Put your crystals by your windows." There is a belief within the crystal community that if when you set crystals into the moonlight of a full moon, that actually, you know,
Brings out the best of them, maximizes the potential.
yeah, MagSafe charges wirelessly. Right.
From the moon. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a for people that use crystals during an investigation, there is a certain amount of gasoline that they have in them, right? So during an investigation, they can run out of energy. If they are warding off spirits that are negative energy, they can deplete over time.
Well,
Uh,
so before we get too far into it, some other things that we've heard, I know, are you can bury them in the dirt. The grounding, the soil from the earth actually can charge them as well. I know that I kind of subscribe more to the moonlight. I think that from personal experiences, I can kind of tell the difference. Um, Again, placebo effect maybe, but yeah, I mean, it brings out it supposedly purifies it, amplifies it, and that really, whether it does or not, I think that it makes a difference.
yeah, I mean, it's essentially like putting your crystals to sleep, right? Putting
Yeah,
them to sleep so they can, wake up the next morning and be ready to go. I think
lasts
it's
all
very,
month long.
yeah, seriously, and it just waits for the next one. So there's something that we talked about the last time that we just did an investigation this past Friday. So uh, we were having a discussion at the beginning of the investigation whenever I actually found
Your
uh,
busted crystal, yeah.
my busted crystal, uh, my crystal that I talked about on the last episode that actually broke apart in my pocket during an investigation, and that is a sign that that crystal has given all it has to give. I didn't stop it before. I didn't get it out of there before it ran out. Right. So it wore down and broke apart. So I actually
Right.
found the fragments of this black kyanite in my case, and I took all the little shards out. And
You
Erin
should have seen
almost
her face, man. Oh,
she was so upset with me. She's like, you haven't put him to bed, like you haven't buried him and
I
let
I
him.
was I was joking, but I mean, we could have had an on-air burial here for him. I mean,
We could have. We probably should at some point. Like I did just I didn't laugh it off, but I kind of just stuck it back in our case and left it back where I found him. Uh so we
so the
did.
next time you'll get the same reaction.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we did like talk about the fact that maybe I don't believe, but also I do, right? And much more so than I want to that I want to believe that I believe, so to speak. Um, so all of that being said, let's jump into what we do on investigations,
Yeah.
right? Like what do we take into battle, so to speak. So for you, Derek, and when Aaron gets on, we'll get into her, but for you, what do you use? What do you gravitate towards? What's your typical arsenal that you
So
carry into battle?
I've touched on it a little bit before, but as far as crystal go, I do go with um, a kind of a combination between crystal and talisman. I
Mhm.
mean, pulling right from that. I at one point I was reading heavily into kind of pre-investigation rituals, and the most meaningful things are things that come from your own life. So I actually asked my father for something of his, and my mom for something from her side. It's kind of taking both sides of the family and creating that shield for myself. So the simple things like tie clips and rings. But as far as the actual stones, the crystals themselves, I do have I have a black onyx that I use. It's actually a big ball, and I had to get a new chain and everything for it because it used to rattle around. But I do think that makes a difference. I can tell, and that's on a necklace. So I have this whole like pendant thing that I wear, and it's all I mean, it's kind of a combination, but I can tell the difference when I have it and when I don't. Whether it's a confidence thing or whatnot. But I can tell the difference. I don't know if others around me can tell. I don't know if you can tell the difference when I'm if I can, if you can tell that I have it on or not. But typically that's what I've been doing, and I actually wear a bracelet that has it embedded in it as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So to go back a little bit, the talisman idea. So I think we talked about this
We
before,
touched on it, yeah.
but talismans are essentially anything, right? A talisman
It's an
at its
object of some sort, yeah.
yeah, at its core, it's really anything that you assign intention to,
Correct. Yep.
right? And you find power in, so to speak. So theoretically, I could go downstairs and get a roll of toilet paper out of the
If you
bathroom
really wanted to,
if
that's
I
right.
felt well, but I would have to feel very passionate about that toilet
It
paper. And
is your special toilet paper.
I did just survive rotavirus this past weekend, so I will tell you that
So maybe you have a special toilet paper. I
toilet
mean,
paper did play a part in getting me through that. But I don't mean to joke too much on it, but it's kind of the idea
no, but
behind the
getting the point
talisman.
across, yes.
Yeah. So like for me, like you have the like the non-religious item talisman
Right.
for you, like the personal
Yep.
talisman. For me, I don't have anything special like that in my life that I, gravitate towards, that I have from my parents, from my grandparents, what have you, that I find strength in, so to speak. But what mine is like the religious type talisman that like my archangel
Your
Michael.
archangel. Yep.
Yeah, he's essentially my boy as far as protection is concerned. I have the tattoo, I have the bracelet, I have the necklace on, but where my talisman differ from yours, besides a religious tie, is I wear mine all the time. I don't just wear them during investigations because I
Makes sense.
I continue to find strength in them.
On a daily life. I
Regard
mean, yeah, that makes sense.
I like you said, you feel naked going into an investigation without them. I feel naked in life without it if I don't have those. So they're like a permanently affixed to my body. My necklace is broken twice. Not during an investigation, not from any kind of demonic activity or anything, but like physically, I think my daughter broke it off of my neck when we were on a hike one time. I had her on my shoulders. When I took her down, she broke it. And the other time I don't remember, but I do remember fixing it a couple times.
But even
But
touching on
that's
that, I
really
know
all that
even
it
like
takes.
in your truck though too, you have one. So it's not just that you wear it; you kind of surround yourself with them.
Yeah, I do. Like I said, it brings me peace, right? And when we're talking talismans, we're talking crystals, we're talking all of these things. When you start to fear the things you don't understand, whether it's in life or during paranormal investigations or what have you, that's whenever things get dangerous, right?
Right.
Because
You
fear is a
lose
sign of
control.
it's exactly right. Fear is a sign of a loss of control, and it's just a loss of strength. And if you believe in the ghosts like we do in the spirit world, again like we do, um, spirits can look for those weaknesses, those kinks in your armor, uh, as an open door, like that. When one door closes, another one opens. For spirits, if you show weakness, they could kind of like take advantage of that and find a way into your life. And
Right.
not about that, not about that life.
Yeah, no, we don't want to, you don't want to show any weakness at all. So, that's at that point, that's what that is.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think there's a fine line, right? There's a fine line between opening yourself for communication and opening yourself for
neg-
whatever it is to take
Negativity or
over.
whatever. Yeah,
Right,
right. And I
right.
think we actually talked with the owners of the nail salon about that, um, pretty heavily, like during the investigation, kind of touching on the Ouija board and seances, that kind of thing, and that applies to that as well. But
Hmm.
there was a quote that, as we were doing some research into crystals, that I wanted to bring up here.
Hmm.
Um, it's I was just looking around, and it kind of caught my eye and stuck with me. It's a crystal becomes a talisman when I decide it does. What does that mean to you? Because it's everything that we're talking about, right? Like
Hmm.
this is kind of that fine line of what's what. Every crystal is a talisman, but not every talisman is a crystal.
Exactly. Well, what it means to me is confusion. And I say that because what I've always been taught or been told from the crystal community, which again, I am like adjacent, right? I don't fully buy in, but I never look down on people that do or anything,
Right.
and I carry them myself. Uh, but it kind of doesn't make sense to me because if you're saying that a crystal becomes a talisman when I decide it does, my thought was that crystals have their own power. They don't need you to put the intent behind them, right? They kind of have their specialty, I think, like the
So
crystal
yeah,
world.
yeah, and so I think that can work a few different ways. Like, for example, you say sometimes it's just pretty and it's hanging there in your window or your
Hmm.
doorway or whatever.
Hmm.
I mean, is it doing anything at that point for you? Like you said, crystals do inherently have their own powers and capabilities. But that then, going down these black holes, it's whatever you assign that crystal to do, but then whatever you assign that crystal to do, a talisman is also doing. So where's that line? Or that's just one of those gray areas in this whole conversation. As to, I mean, like you said, it's counterintuitive, really, to the whole process, because crystals have their own strengths,
Hmm.
and you have to use those to for yourself, right? I mean, it
Sure.
amplifies you. So I mean, I think that's part of the reason that caught my eye and has kind of stuck with me the way that it has, just because it's a good talking point, good discussion point, but it really makes you think.
Hmm. No, and that's exactly what we do really brings out in us and the people around us that we talk to about it, especially skeptics, right?
Yes,
Paranormal investigation at its core is questioning.
everything. Yeah,
Question everything, except don't accept anything at face value,
right.
right? Is that, was that knock that I heard the house settling? Was that knock I heard a spirit trying to communicate with me? Was that knock an acorn that fell off a tree that was
Right.
being chased by a squirrel? But that's what makes it fun, and that's where the scientific method and all that stuff comes into. But we're not going to get into that on this time around.
But
But
just as an example, you're right.
yeah, and that healthy question and skepticism is why we label ourselves skeptical believers, right? And that's why we spend a lot of time validating our beliefs and our thoughts and our feelings with equipment.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's not always easy.
No, it's really not. But if you want to put it in that perspective, I mean, crystals can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of in reverse, right? I mean, it's whatever we're feeling, it
Hmm.
amplifies it,
Sure.
whatever that may be. If I'm feeling nervous, anxious, it amplifies that. And to your point before about the more negative energies, they can pull that out of you. They can sense it too. So a crystal could then be bad in that
Hmm.
regard, right?
I assume so, right? I think for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So I suppose that it could be, but I've never heard them spoken in that terminology for them to be something bad. Maybe it's not
Sure.
necessarily bad. It's just really not the right time. Maybe I
Yeah.
really don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and
Kind
we're
of
here.
wrong tool for the job, right? I mean, at that
Yeah,
point, that's
yeah. Here's just two guys that don't really know that much about crystals, talking about it, but we use them in a practical manner, and I think that
sure.
that's enough,
And
right?
I think that yeah, that's kind of the overarching premise here, right? Is that we use them for a specific purpose, and they serve us to the extent that we want them to or need them to at
Mm-hmm.
any given time.
Yeah, and they've served us well, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'd say
We're
so.
we're going on 10 years without spiritual attachment,
So we think.
that we're aware of. I think you might have had one. You were told one
We still,
caught
yeah,
on to you
yeah.
early on. You had a couple psychics and mediums tell you that they saw somebody with you.
I'm still told that every once in a while, but you know that could also be the crap that I have in the closet with all the different things that I kind of collect from our investigations and things that are gifted to me, and you know, teaser for another day. But
Yeah, yeah. So for those that aren't aware of Derek's obsession with creepy things, he's the holder of all of the things that I won't keep in our house. So yeah, we will do a whole future discussion on that. But
I'll
just
set in my closet and we'll do the episode from there.
well, right, and bear in mind, I think that that's partly why you've had an attachment and I haven't, because you're always going that extra little step further than I'm willing to take it, and you're willing to put yourself a little bit more on the line
For better or worse.
and I'm not going to say another dirty word here, but we kind of take it that extra step for the entertainment of it, right?
I mean,
Because
yeah, I don't like the word. You're right, it's a dirty word, but yeah, I mean, there's a certain value of that. I mean, really, if you think about it, the reason that we keep them, and I've said it before, we do these shows and conventions and stuff, and they're really good talking points when you don't
they
know what
are
else to say or anything. So yeah, and
right.
in that regard, absolutely, they're entertainment value. They're discussion points. You know, but I also find them cool. Just like you find your
Right.
crystals cool. I
Oh,
find creepy things
absolutely.
cool.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, the entertainment word was dirty, but it wasn't all at the same time because it's really more about education, right?
Yeah,
It's when we bring those things with us to conventions, when we talk about those things with people, you know, at the conventions or at the swap meets, so to speak, that were the events that we're part of, it brings the healthy discussion about what the things are, why you need to be wary of them for some of the
right.
objects, you know, like Dybbuk boxes and haunted dolls and those kind of things. You know, you definitely don't want to be just bringing that stuff in. Um, but we're getting way off topic here,
Yeah,
so
right.
we got to bring it back to the crystals.
So yeah, I mean, then let's ask the question: at what point is this tool something that we use versus something that we rely on? Um, you know how
It's an
can you
interesting question.
differentiate the two of those things? You know, we already talked, like we feel naked, or we feel, you know, that there's a part of us missing when we're not using them.
Mhm.
So do we rely on them in that aspect rather than using them as a tool? You know, is it an unhealthy obsession that we need it, versus using it as you should? You know, I mean, where's that line at, right? I don't think that that's something that really needs to be answered, but something just to think about, where you know you use it to the extent that you need to at the time. Uh, but yeah, where do you stop? Where do you draw that line?
Well, yeah, I know it's a great question, and I actually was not expecting that at all. But it sent so many things through my head. I guess.
Going deep here,
Well, that's the intent, right? I mean, but I guess it depends, right? There's so many things that the answer is it just depends.
right?
And to me, to say that something makes you feel naked if you don't have it, that is like walking that line between a nice to have and a need to have,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
the nice to
An
have is one of
obsession.
those. Yeah, like the nice to have is one of those things that you need to continue. The or that you want to have to continue. The need to have is what you need to survive. So lots more to talk about after the ad break. I like where this is headed. Stick with us. We'll get back into it.
Every ghost story and creature feature lies a far more terrifying truth. The real monsters wear human faces. In the chilling book, All Monsters Are Human, from Derek Smith, 10 Twisted Tales expose the darkest parts of a human soul. From killers hiding in plain sight to obsessions turned deadly. Each story invites you to step into a shadow world where morality unravels, and the only thing more terrifying than what lurks in the dark is who. These aren't just horror stories. They're reflections of ourselves, showing what happens when fear, rage, guilt, and desire take control. Visit nxmedia.com for more information on All Monsters Are Human from Derek Smith. And you can purchase them at amazon.com from nxmedia.com. The new book, How to Research a Haunted House by paranormal investigator Margie Kay and professional researcher Violet Wisdom, is now available from Unex Media. This one-of-a-kind book explains how to do research on a house with uncommon methods and resources used by historic home researchers, and how to determine who may be doing the haunting and why. How to research a haunted house can be used by homeowners, renters, investors, and it should be in the library of all professional paranormal investigators. Get this unique book at unxmedia.com or amazon.com. That's unxmedia.com or amazon.com. The truth, it's out there, and it's waiting for you. The Unexplained Network is your source for the best in paranormal programming, live video streaming, and audio streaming from hauntings, UFOs, Bigfoot, cryptids, and the ever-expanding realm of the unexplained. Listen live or on demand now on Spreaker, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeart, and Pockets all over the World Wide Web. The Unexplained Network, where unexplained lives.
The idea of every action has an equal and opposite reaction is something that I want to get a little bit further into on this right after the ads, right? So, has there ever been a time when we've used crystals and they haven't worked for us and we had an attachment? Is there anything that you can think of that was since we've been investigating?
So I'm trying to think. I mean, not specifically to that extent. I mean, I know that there have been occasions where we've had negative things happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had my sick episode at Gettysburg. I've been startled at Post Town Elementary School.
Mm-hmm.
You've had things swung at you at the penitentiary. We've had rocks and pieces of drywall thrown at us.
Mm-hmm.
So negative things have happened, but maybe that speaks to the crystals protecting us from it taking any further than that. In a different sense, things like using it as a pendulum, you know, sometimes, yes, that hasn't worked. You know, things just don't react to it and don't use it. So, yeah, I mean, I would say in that regard, it just hasn't worked. Negatively, I don't think that it's really ever come to it. One thing that I can relate that to, though, is the one house cleansing when the client, the homeowner, kind of used things or stopped using things, and things came back. You know, that's a situation. That's a case where I don't think that it didn't work, because I think things were working at that point, but she stopped using them or stopped believing in them. So, at that point, I think it just didn't work the way it was intended to. But you have to put something into it to get something out of it, to that point. So, I mean, anything on the top of your head that you can think of where something's happened negatively like that? I mean, where it's had an opposite effect almost.
Well, I don't think so either. I don't believe that it's there was a negative effect, but I find it very fascinating what you just said about that house cleansing with the homeowner that did the opposite of what we asked, right? This specifically, almost like a talisman, or like a talisman kind of crystal combined, is the witch bells that we left for the homeowner, where she actually convinced herself they were the opposite of what the intent was meant to be. She flipped the script on herself, and went from believing, as we were trying to get across to her, of the bell's ability to have a threshold put up where the spirit energy can't follow her into the home after she's been out and about for the day. She actually flipped that to believe that that the bells served more like a dinner bell, to essentially just, bring all the spirits in for their goodies. You know what I mean?
To that point, welcome, Aaron.
Welcome, Aaron.
Sorry,
as
I'm
we
late.
as we get to the dinner bell conversation, here you are.
But no, I mean, if you think about talismans, then I mean, the witch's bells that we gave her would be a perfect example of that.
Yeah. So, Aaron, we had just asked the question of, is there ever a time that you, like, each of us individually have actually had something, even though we were carrying crystals with us, that something negative or something impactful happened to us in a bad way?
Yeah. I've had that experience with us. Yeah.
So could you get into detail with that?
Yeah. So we were at Greene County, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just talking to the guys about this just the other day when we were on an investigation. I was decked out with all my crystals and all of the things. And I still had an experience that was unpleasant. I was in a part of the, I believe I was in a part of the, in a part of the property, part of the building where I was unwelcome as a woman. All of the men that were there did not feel the animosity that I did. But I just happened to cross the threshold into a place that I was unwelcome, and the entity that was there used all of his power to push me out. And it felt like I had been attacked. All of that energy came straight. It felt like it just kind of washed over me, but it centered primarily on my third eye. And I ended up coming out of there. I basically ran out of the room. I couldn't tell you how uncomfortable I was. Derek, meanwhile, was walking with me, completely unfazed.
My crystals worked.
Yeah. But I had all of that pressure went straight to my third eye, and it made me so uncomfortable. I ended up leaving the investigation early, went home, ended up getting sick on the way home. It was so affecting. So even at that point, and I remember distinctly going into, when we were getting ready to go walk around, I had picked up a lot of my crystals that were centered on communication and opening up the third eye. So I had a lot of my blue and purple crystals. And when we came back from that, I dropped every single colored crystal and picked up every black crystal that I could. Because
and what did that do at that point? I mean, explain the difference going from one to another.
So I really shut down any tendrils of energy that I was pushing out, trying to welcome something in. I shut that down completely. I didn't want to have anything to do with that. And more so, I was just trying to claw back the energy that I had put out into the space and get it back in. So it was really just trying to calm down and refocus my third eye in my head. I had an awful headache. It was terrible. There's video, I know, and I don't know, Derek, if you'd be able to find. I know when I was watching the video, I could tell, but we had video from the next part of the investigation where you guys were trying to engage with something, and I literally was just sitting in a corner with my eyes shut. I had some of my crystals that I was putting on my forehead trying to calm my third eye down. But like I could even hardly keep my eyes open because I had instantly gotten such a terrible headache.
Yeah, I know that affected you pretty immensely.
Really harshly. Yeah, really harshly. But yeah, so it really just became like we fall back on those intentions and fall back on for me crystals as setting those intentions, and I immediately went on to protection and trying to like create a bubble of protection around myself. So got rid of everything, picked up my black stones, and I was probably gone within the hour, I think.
So with that, on that note of intentions and what you were putting out versus taking back, how does the intention change based on location and the activity that you're experiencing? I mean, you kind of just talked to that about like Greene County, but for example, we were talking a little bit, when if we were to go into Gettysburg, would that change what kind of stone that you carry going onto a bloodied battlefield with a lot of violence and tragedy versus going into like a prison, say, where there was that kind of, a very similar sense, but, more negativity. Even comparing that all to a friendly, opera house where we've experienced positivity before,
Yeah.
How does that change based on location and the energy that's out there?
So speaking hypothetically, because obviously
absolutely,
like you kind of take stock of the energy whenever you come into the space and what you can think that you're going to go into a space. When you get in there and you feel the energy that is present, it can drastically change how you're going to, address certain entities, how you're going to ground, how you're going to set intentions, all of those different things. Traditionally, I feel like using some of those, because I feel like I've had bad experiences with people or entities from that time period grabbing onto me and following me and having really negative experiences. So I feel like I would probably just in general be a little bit more defensive in that sense. But there's so many of the crystals that we have that serve as protection as well as helping with intuition. So being able to use like amethyst, for example, that's going to be welcoming in positivity and going to be welcoming in, connecting with your intuition while also protecting the people that are utilizing it. Is very much a protection stone. So utilizing some of these stones that serve multi-purpose like that. So for example, when we go into some of these places, if I know, or if I feel like we're dealing with something that is light and cheerful or happy, or maybe not cheerful is not the right word, but like something that has a lighter, more like, I want to say more yellow energy. Like it's got, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but like something that has a lighter, more positive energy, I'm more likely to bring something like a citrine that can help boost that positivity as things come through. Whereas if I'm dealing with something that's negative or is dealing most likely caught somewhere because of intense trauma, that citrine's not going to do anything for us, right? Like that's not the intention there, and it's not going to help us get to where we need to be.
So a lot of that stems all the way back from grounding and before you even get on site. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So then your crystals of choice essentially change once you get there. So you kind of have to come prepared for anything then.
That's why I come with my bucket of rocks there. Yes, absolutely. I come with everything because you never know. And even like during an investigation, you guys have probably never, but like when we come back to where we have everything set up, just like where you guys are thinking like, okay, what tools are we going to use next? There's a lot of times I'm switching and changing out crystals throughout the night based on where we're going, the energy that we're feeling, the way that things have been going so far. So like if I'm starting out with a sodalite there, and if that's not working or the energy is not meeting that, I may come back and say, okay, where, what feels right now? Or you know what I mean? Very quickly, Even if I'm not thinking it through very intentionally, I can come back and be like, this isn't right. I'm trying this one now.
I don't think that I knew that. So the next time we go on an investigation, make sure you like verbally tell us as a group, kind of your thought process there, because I am interested and intrigued by that. Like you said, it kind of, correlates exactly to what you're saying. Like I go in and I look for the next tool. Like this is happening, so I want to try to use this tool next.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I mean, I would be very interested to see kind of what your thought process is with that.
Yeah. I mean, even when we start using different tools, like if we're starting to use a Phasma box, or we're starting to use like some of these other things where we need to be able to hear what they're saying and speak the right words. If I'm going in with something with an amethyst or a labradorite, I'm going to throw that aside for a lapis lazuli or a sodalite or something, or an angelite, something like that. It's one of those blue stones. For me, sodalite is what that speaks to me the best in those situations. But you're using that's going to hone in, whereas I normally focus on my third eye chakra. That is going to hone in on that throat chakra. So not only are we hearing things that are coming through, we're understanding the intention behind what someone is saying, but also we're able to verbalize what's not being able to be verbalized and speak the truth coming back out, right? Like we're able to, just like when, for example, when we were at the Mars train station, one of the reasons that I feel like I had the epiphany that when we were talking to the man in the box, the reason I was having that epiphany was because I was holding a sodalite and being able to feel what was coming through from him and be able to verbalize that for us to be able to hone in on.
I mean, that's definitely interesting, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
That is an interesting concept, and one that I've never really thought about. So like different crystals, and we kind of started talking about this before, but Derek and I have no idea what we're talking about when it comes to crystals. So like we needed to bring you in.
Right.
But like from a perspective of the individual stones themselves,
Mm-hmm.
do they themselves bring that energy that is supposed to be like associated with the type of stone? Are they bringing that energy with them, or are they each doing a better job of amplifying the way that you're feeling about that topic already? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes. A little bit of both, okay. I feel like, right? Like each individual stone has, it is a tool, just like all of our other tools are, right? So even with a blue stone, for example, generally you're going to be able to use that for your throat chakra, like the sodalite, the angelite, and the lapis lazuli are my go-tos with that. But each one of those have more niche usages that you can use them for, right? They have more niche intentions that can be set with them. And so depending on the situation, depending on the intention, depending on what you're trying to get, one of those is going to take precedence over the other. They're not all interchangeable one for one, right? Like they all have very specific uses. Now, what those uses are to each person, like there's a textbook that you can read through that shows you like, hey, if I'm looking at, for example, here, where we can look at lapis lazuli here, right? In my little crystal Bible.
The crystal Bible behind you.
Crystal Bible right here, of course, right? So lapis lazuli, for example, has all of these different things that you can use it for and things that it speaks to. But there's also something to be said for how that particular stone, how this stone that is in this picture, which is my personal stone, connects to me and my intention and how it works for me based on this framework. Right. So like for me in particular, whereas lapis lazuli you can use for your throat chakra or your third eye, this speaks more to my third eye for setting intentions. Whereas my sodalite, while it has some of the same intentions, that for me is one that I specifically pull out and use when I need to be able to hone in on what's being said, understand what's not being said, and speak what needs to be spoken.
And again, this goes back to your bluestone collection, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question. I don't know if that's a question, but like it's does. Right?
Right. But it also harkens back to a question we talked about before you joined as well, which is and somewhere we were actually going to get to anyways after you joined, was, can anything become a crystal?
Yeah.
Right? Can anything become a talisman? Like something that I had referenced jokingly but seriously all at the same time. I survived rotavirus this weekend, which, if you're not familiar, it is something that has you in the bathroom quite a bit.
Oh, no.
You know, my crystal energy came from the toilet paper this weekend. You know, could I essentially can just like a nothing object become a talisman or a crystal of it in and of itself with the right intent? Like, what does it take to do that?
I mean, really, everything is just a piece of junk that we have put value to, right? Like every single thing is, whether it's a crystal, whether it's a talisman, whether it is something of religious significance, like everything's just a hunk of metal or rock or nothing until you put intention and put value to it. So to your point, yes, like if your toilet paper roll is the thing that is most valuable to you at that point, then there's no reason, there's no set guidelines that say like, hey, just because, you know, XYZ is happening, that means that it needs to be valuable. I mean, to be fair, and I don't have it in here right now, like for example, the crystal ruby, right? Like it is very valuable whenever somebody sets it into jewelry. You can also get an uncut ruby at a crystal shop for not very much. You know what I mean? Like there's just
That's a really good way to put that.
Yeah.
So
it's a wildly accurate. So I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the object is, but that's the power of intent, right? Which is why
it goes right back to that.
Right. And there's so much of paranormal investigations that come back to intent, and the tools that we use, the objects that we use for communication as well as protection, it's all intent, which is why we steer away from Ouija boards as a team, which is why we steer away from scrying mirrors as a team, right? We just really, we don't, at least me personally, I don't know a way to completely cloud out certain fears and skepticism as far as my ability to stop negative energy from coming through on a Ouija board, no matter what I try to do. So my intent, even though I in that moment could tell myself I don't intend on contacting something, you know, evil,
it could still
or something
be there.
bad, I will have that in the back of my head. And is that enough? Right? Is that enough to allow that to come in? In my mind, that is. Right? In my mind, that is more than enough to allow that to come in and take hold of the conversation. Which again, that's why I don't believe in them, and I think that's also why we as a group don't believe in that. Oh, we believe in it, we just don't use it.
It's that chance. It's that 0.0001% chance that it could be there. It could happen. So you just stay away from it. I mean, it's as easy as that.
I mean, at the end of the day, all that we're dealing with is energy. So however you're addressing that energy, whether it's through intention or placing value or purpose into another thing, like even the entities that we're dealing with, they're all just energy. Like, so being able to combat energy with energy or work energy with energy, I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah, and I honestly do believe that, right? And again, I think the power is in the belief. The belief spins the intention spins the protection or lack thereof, right? Just depends on what the situation is. So I think it's a fascinating conversation and something that we could spend probably 20 episodes going over. But unfortunately,
you saw the Bible Aaron has. I mean, go page by page. So I do have a question for you, Aaron, since you weren't here when we were talking about talisman. I know most of the time for you it's a crystal. Do you have anything else that you use that may be considered a talisman that
I have a hold on, that I wear all the time. It's literally all worn so tiny, but I do have a little evil eye that I wear on me all the time. Yeah, I mean, that's really I'm not one that like uses a lot of that stuff. I mean, crystals are nice because I can like shove them into places. I mean, I don't know how many times you guys have watched it. I've literally just like pulled a crystal out of nowhere, you know. Now I have used like talismans in the past. I don't necessarily use them anymore. I used to have like a ring that I would wear all the time. I have things like in my car whenever I'm driving to make sure that I'm staying safe that are not necessarily crystals, but they're talismans in that way. But during an investigation, the only thing that I wear outside my crystals is my little evil eye.
Yeah, that's cool. And
Yeah.
Derek, in your show notes here, something that I really think is fascinating and just very impactful is this line, right? Whether it's a crystal, a talisman, or nothing at all, what matters most is the belief we're walking in with. Because whatever we carry into the dark walks in with us. I think that's so on point for all of this, right? This is why you write books and I don't.
If you had to boil it down into one line, this show into one 10-second line, you know, that's what it is. I mean, end of the day, that's what it comes down to, right? It's the everything that we take in with us, all the intention, you know, it all kind of drips over into the reality that we take with us. So it's like you said, it's all very fascinating, and you could break it down any way, and you could ask any religion, and you could ask any investigator. Every single person is going to have a little bit different of a thought to it. They're gonna use it a little bit differently, and you know that's the beauty of it. Though at the end of the day, this is something that can bring all of us together, no matter the walk of life, no matter your belief system. It doesn't matter. All that matters is the end product and what we all take with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and that goes all the way to who we do it with.
Right.
And that's why, you know, I see the three of us working so well together the last couple of years is because we believe in the abilities that each of us bring to the table. Like our intention is to be united as a team rather than individuals. And that in and of itself is its own version of a crystal. Right.
Yeah.
So it's so cool. Well, guys, I know, Aaron, I know that you weren't able to be with us for very long, but
to jump on.
The bell is tolling 11. So is there any parting words from either of you before we wrap it?
This was so much fun. I loved it.
This was so much fun, says Aaron.
I mean, it always is.
Parting wisdom?
Yeah, it always is.
I mean, nothing that we haven't already said. You know, we could, like you said, we could talk about this for hours, for episodes, for years, and it's always going to be something different. And I think in the end, that's the beauty of it, is that it's always something different. Always something always changes. Something's always new. You know, there's always something new to learn. Like, you know, next investigation we go into, I'm going to be paying more attention to the crystals that Erin's picking up and taking with her in the situation that we're going into next. So there's just always something different to be had from this. What about you, Dan?
So I will say that my mind is much more open now on the crystal idea, the talisman idea, but just in general, the power of intention and the power of belief and, you know, all of the above. And I think that that's in and of itself so strong and something that we need to focus on, not only in paranormal investigations, but all walks of our life. Because I think when we lose sight of that, we lose sight of really what truly make us us. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that we're too often losing sight of that as a civilization, right? We're just losing sight of what makes us so unique and using it almost as a weapon against those that think differently. So I'm very happy to have you guys on my team, on our team. And I look forward to many more episodes with you guys because it's always a great conversation. So thank you guys for that.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, thank you. So, however, every journey across the bridge does leave something behind. A question, a feeling, or a moment that lingers longer than expected. No matter how far into the unknown we wander, there comes a time to turn back. Thank you for crossing the bridge with us again tonight. and for taking the journey back safely. Until the next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and remember, you can always return from the other side of the bridge. Toodles, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.